Hello everyone, welcome back to part 2 of our SQL series videos. In part 1, we saw basics of SQL. In this section of the series, we will be talking about some high-level commands and functions that are relatively advanced compared to the basics. So prerequisite to understanding what we will be discussing at a deeper level would be that you would have watched the first part of the video. Without further ado, let's get started. In this part, we will begin by talking about functions. And in order to do that, we need to create a couple of tables. If you recall, we saw table creation in depth in the last part of the video series. Here, I have created two tables to work with. The first is a users table. So I went ahead and I created two tables. In order to see how tables are created and how the values are to be inserted, please scroll back and see table creation. So what I've done is basically I've created a table that has a user ID, name, age, country, the subscription type, and the sign-up dates of the users, when the last login was, and this is also a date, then the total time spent, and the active status. So this is what the table is like. Likewise, I have specified the data types for all of these data points. So that's my users table. Moving on, there's an orders table where I have the order ID, the user ID, the order date, the order amount, and the product name. And this is absolutely made up, but what we are going to learn next would require these additional tables, and hence I went ahead and I created these tables. The first thing I want to do as a function is to calculate the total order amount. The total order amount for all orders. And so what I need is that I need to sum up the order underscore amount, and I need a name for this, total sales perhaps, from the orders table. Very similar to our select command, where we want to return the order amount as a sum, which we're going to alias as total sales, and this will come from the orders table. So the total sales are 2281.75. This was the sum function. Moving on, we'll talk about the average function. It works much the same way. We will use the average command. Here, the alias would change. Let me write average order amount. Another important function is that of account. So similar to how we extract from orders. Let's start with this. So if we were to get a count, we would just simply put an asterisk inside the count and say we want the count to have an alias of total orders. Right. So let's see what this would return us. The total orders, the count of the total orders is 10. Let's quickly have a look at the data again. So this is how the count function works. Similarly, if we were to get the maximas, the minimas, the rounded averages, these also have respective functions. So let me first show you how to calculate the maximas. Select max, and here we want to get the maxima of the order amount as the max order amount from orders. So what will this show us as? We have a maximum order amount of 500. Similarly, if we were to see the minima, if we were interested in the minimum order amount, so we do something similar. We change the alias. We say the minimum order amount is 50. If we were to round off anything, so this could be the average, this could be the maximum order amount, or any of these values. For instance, if we want to round off the average order, right, the order amount. So let's pick up this. If we were to round this, how will we do that? So we would simply write round, which is a function, and then inside it we add another function, and then we specify that we want it rounded to perhaps say 2 decimal places, and then we could say rounded average order amount from orders. So then the average of 228.175 becomes 228.18. We could change that to 1, show you that this becomes 2. We could change this to 0, and then we will have just a whole number. All right, so let's continue our discussion on the functions. And for that, we want to look at functions respective to the users table, because that's the kind of data that we need. So firstly, let's view our users table. This is our users table, 10 user IDs, 10 names, age, country, subscription type, sign up date, last login, time spent, and activity status. Similarly, the orders table, let's also look at the orders table. So we recall. This was the orders table. So starting off with the users table. So let's brush up a couple of concepts here. Number of active users. If I was to say, visualize the number of active users, I would use the count function. All right, and I would call it, I would give it an alias, total active users from users. Let's also specify where active is equal to 1. This is basically what we need. We need to count the number of active users, right? So we need to count the number of ones in the active column. So hence we use the count function with the where command. Next, we want most recent sign up data. Most recent sign up data. So how will we do that? We have a sign up date. Next, I want the most recent sign up date. So basically, I have this date. I want to see who signed up recently. What is the one way to do it? The way to do it is to find the maximum of the sign up date, and we are gonna call this most recent sign up. All right, and now we don't need to count anything, so we just take this data from the table. Most recent sign up was on the 25th of February 2024. All right. So what I'm trying to show you is I'm trying to brush up the functions that we did with the lens of extracting data and how to read it, how to pick data up using these functions. Suppose if I was to find the earliest sign up date, how would I do that? So I would say I want the minimum sign up date, and I'm going to call it first sign up from the users. All right, so the date is 2019, so it's in 2019. It's the 1st of December 2019. Moving on, as data analysts or product managers, you often need to analyze data by grouping and aggregating. Let us say we want to count the number of users by subscription type. So first things first, let's have a look at our table to jog our memory a little. All right, so this is our table. Now I'm interested in subscription type. And there are quite a few iterations that you have to do to get to what you're looking for. So it's okay if you're trying to figure out what is the right SQL statement that you're going to use here. So this is the subscription types that you have. Now, next is the group by command. I here want to see group by my subscription type. I want to group my subscription type. So hence it's telling me that there are 3 subscription types that you have. We've grouped it for you. Next, I want to use the count function. So what I will do here is I will use the count function, and I will say count me the number of users with the respective subscription type. So here we have the count. Doesn't look too pretty, so I want my count and asterisk to have an alias. This is my favorite, that you can make your tables beautiful and understand things better. Okay. All right, so this is what it's telling me. So we use the group by function, we use the group by command, we integrated the count function in it, and so we have a very clear picture of how our users are distributed. Now say I want to take it a step further, and I also want to filter the groups using a certain filtering parameter. And this is when we can use a filter that is the having filter, the having command basically. So group by subscription type, having a user count. Now we've already specified that there's a user count, so a user count greater than 3. So then it tells me that the premium subscription type has a user count greater than 3, which is 4. If I want to, for instance, say that get me a user count that's equal to 3, so it's going to tell me that 2 of your subscription types, namely basic and free, have a user count of 3. Another very important function is the concatenate function. So before we begin, let's, as usual, look at our table. And I want to concatenate the name and the country, and I want to call this user specific parameter that I want to store somewhere. All right. So what am I going to do here? I'm going to say select name, comma, country. These are the 2 data points that I want. All right. So this is, if I were to just extract it as a table, I would get 2 columns, but I don't want it as 2 columns. I want them joined. So I want them as one statement. So here I will use concatenate, and in the middle of it, I will write from. So then it says Amina Khan from respective country. Next, I also want to rename this, because you see that the header is really not neat and clean. So we will write user info as user info. There's a comment here. Right. So this is how the concatenate function works. All right, so what is one of the most important commands to know in SQL? It is the join command. So the join command is of 4 types: an inner join, outer join, left join, right join. Now join is basically used to join tables. Now to combine data from 2 tables, in our case, let's combine data from the users and the orders table, we will use the inner join command. And this will result a new table which can have respective columns from both the tables. Now each of the tables need to be identified in the command that we will be seeing. So before we begin, let's first see both our tables. And let us start with, now in order to start, first you need to select one of the tables as your reference point. So let me select the users table as my reference point. And let me begin by giving an alias to the user table to show you what that would be. It's identical except that now the users table has an alias of u. It's important because we're working with 2 tables, so it's really important to specify which table you are bringing the row from. Hence, alias in the inner join command is very much recommended. Otherwise, things get quite muddy, and the command is just harder to follow. So I am saying that I want the name from the users table as well as the country. And I want the order date. Let me just pick it up from here. I want the order date, comma, the order amount, and the product name from the orders table. So the command changes as inner join orders, and I want to give this an alias O. Inner join on user underscore ID is equal to user underscore ID. Let me explain this to you. So let me first specify which table this data is coming from. The U, now this could be users or U as the alias. Now we have U as the alias, so it just makes it cleaner to look at. I want these two from the users table. I want this from the orders table. As you saw, we had O as the alias of the orders table. So this is what we have. The main thing that is to explain over here in the inner join is that we need to specify a join on something. And for everything, the most important thing in every table is a primary key, which is a reference point, which is a unique identity of that table. And that specifies that this row has XYZ columns. So user ID 1 would have the specific details, which is Amina Khan, age 29, country USA, premium subscription type XYZ. So I want to say that the user ID of table U is the same as now the user ID for the orders table. So consider picking up all the elements from user ID of the users table and all the elements of user ID from the orders table and combine it. This is basically what my command is saying. So let me show you how that changes for us. This is the new table. So Amina Khan is the name, the country is USA, the order date, the order amount, and the product name is all over here. And this results basically shows only the users who have placed orders. For each user, we get their name, country, order date, amount, and the product name. Right, so that's the inner join. Now let's talk about left join. This join returns all records from the left table, in our case the users table, and the matching records from the right table, which is the orders table. If there's no match, the result will show as null for the right table. So similar to what we did last time, I'm just going to copy paste. So here, one inclusion I will do, which I realized that we were missing last time, was the ID. So user ID, which is the user ID from the users table. I will have the name, the country, the order date from the orders table, amount, product name from users, and then I will say left join this for me. The orders all left join on the user ID of U and the user ID of O. And let's see what that does for us. Oops. User underscore ID. Sorry, he didn't have any of that. Yep. All right. So now, as you see, we did a left join, and some of the values that you see might be coming as null. So let's see what's happening in the third row. So what we basically see here is that the user ID number 3 with the name of Yoki does not have any order ID associated with that respective user ID, and which means that while we're missing an order ID, we're also missing all the other order details. And so all those values will appear to be as none. Similarly, let's pick up user ID 6. User ID 6 is Sophia. User ID 6 also doesn't have any respective order associated with that user ID. And hence, all the rows appear to be as null for the order ID, order amount, and product name. Next, I do want to talk to you about the right join and the full join in SQL. We are using SQLite here. As we discussed in the beginning, SQLite does not support the right join and the full join command. So in order to do the right join, you can flip the tables in the left join, which is the placement of the tables, and you will get something similar, the result similar to a right join. As far as the full join is concerned, a lot of the times when full join is not supported in SQLite, the left and the right join are used along with the union command. Now, because the catch here is that SQLi does not support the right, so similar to how we discussed before, we are going to use the left join, a union, and another left join, but with the tables, the placement of the tables reversed in that statement in the command. With that, let me congratulate you for sticking along for so long. You have done quite a bit in your SQL journey. I'm confident to say that if you have seen both the videos, the beginner and the advanced, you are very well versed with SQL. The next steps for you should be to just practice as much and to go out there and show your SQL magic in the real world. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel and let us know what you want to see next so that we can continue to make engaging content. All the best. See you later. Bye bye.